I'm sure many of you have seen presentations referring the Bitcoin as blockchain 1.0 and the newer smart contract platforms branded as the blockchain 2.0 or 3.0. Well, BSV has already demonstrated on mainnet that by removing the artificial limits on block size and restoring the full functionality of the Bitcoin script, we can actually do smart contract and tokenization on Bitcoin, but better and at large scale. So as a result, we've seen a whole new wave of token issuance on the BSV blockchain. And I'm super excited to be joined by 3 entrepreneurs today and hear from their insights on tokenizing assets on BSV. James, let's start with you. Tokenized has been heads down, building the token and smart contract platform for enterprises. Why don't you give us an update on what's new with Tokenized?
Sure, thanks. Hi, everybody. So I'm James, the CEO of Tokenized. So we have been busy, heads down, trying to stay quiet and try to deliver real value. We've recently released the backbone of our smart contracting platform as a service, which is really the API. So that API is a full-featured smart contracting tool set that allows for the transfer of assets, the issuance and management of all kinds of tokens, security tokens, utility tokens, the governance of those tokens or the administration of those smart contracts over time, as well as a lot of compliance tools for the issuers and regulatory bodies, regulated entities that are issuing or administering some of these tokens. In addition to that API, we've also recently launched our JavaScript SDK. So the idea is we have a desktop app that allows for a great user interface to allow for all of this to happen for issuers, regulators, as well as investors and retail users. But we've also seen a lot of demand from a lot of companies to have an SDK that allows them to embed these smart contract features, these Bitcoin features, and these token features into various apps, different front ends for various reasons. So that's what the SDK does. Everything that we can offer in the API and on the desktop app, we will not quite yet, but we will have available in the SDK to come. And that will sort of be in parallel to our desktop app. To speak more on our smart contracting platform as a service, we're really looking to be sort of a next generation technology company or fintech company that allows financial institutions, governments, fintechs, and all kinds of other enterprises as well to easily issue tokens and easily trade them and manipulate them in a way where they don't have to worry about blockchain. They don't have to worry about Bitcoin. They don't have to worry about the volatility of cryptocurrencies. They can treat these instruments in traditional terms, except for they can benefit from all the benefits that blockchain brings, the microtransactions at the level, the immutability, the properties of this data layer. And that's really what we want to do. So what we can offer with this is a no-code solution, something that executives and lawyers and normal people can really interact with and understand.
Right, yeah, that's definitely very, very useful by abstracting away the complexity of all the blockchain stuff and talking commercial and business language to these enterprise clients. So Eli, I recall that Amleh was first introduced at CoinGeek Seoul as the first tokenized gold on the BSV blockchain. Do you want to give us an update on where you are, what kind of service that you're offering, and any issues? What are the key issues that you're trying to solve by tokenizing gold?
Certainly. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. First and foremost, I'm proud to say that the Amleh platform has now been developed by Elas Digital. So many thanks to Elas for the work that they've put in over the last several months in getting our platform ready. It's passed user testing, and we're literally in a position now where we're ready. We have a viable product to begin demonstrations and negotiations with various vaults and companies. It's taken us a while, I know, to get here. We're there. But we're not there yet until we actually have a company that's listing their gold with our token platform. So even though a big milestone has been achieved right now, the real kicker is the partnership that we can get. So in essence, our our project intends to bring together the most robust commodity that is gold, historically ever so robust. You've been used as a commodity, as a currency, and has extreme utility. It's a no-brainer. And it also brings with it the most powerful technological data ledger in existence, which is Bitcoin to this day. So the marriage of the two is obviously just destined for greatness, whether we do it or whether somebody else do it. In fact, I think most definitely there will be many gold tokens on BSV at some stage. We're kind of trying to be the first. I've no doubt that Tokenized will provide stiff competition when the time comes. At the moment, our current competitor, if you want to call them a competitor, Perth Mint in Australia, issues gold tokens on the Ethereum platform. They like to advertise that it has no fees, but Ethereum has its own really, really major fees. So, yeah, so that won't be too difficult to beat that one. The interesting thing about Amleh, though, is that it's a platform that has thanks to Eli, it has a unique model which allows multiple ecosystem participants to stake their gold into AGT Amleh Gold tokens. So we can do that, and we'll see if we can get that to happen. We'll need agreement from various vaults and companies. If we can do that, that'd be great. If we can't, then at least we tried, and we can do the more traditional token model for a company. We've already got some interest from some companies, so fingers crossed. I'll keep you posted on that. But the next time I ever present anything about Amleh at a Qiang conference, it'll be when we have a token that is actually backed by gold that you can buy.
Looking forward to that. And would the system be solely focusing on gold, or it can also roll out to other commodities?
Of course, it can be used for other things, but specifically, the entire design of it has been very focused on the gold part. So, it's just a matter of some aesthetics then, and some minor things that we have to change if we do want to go for something like silver, for example, if you wish. But it is very much been the gold is the focus. Yes.
Great, thanks, Jack. You've obviously released a lot of token projects, and today you released the Music Nifty, right, on RelayX with your partners. So RelayX also being the marketplace for all these tokens and Nifties. Can you tell us about those projects in the RelayX ecosystem, and what are your intentions behind those projects?
I'm on the program today to shout out several of the creators that have been part of the early class and the early wave of those that have tokenized on Bitcoin live, not a project, not a concept, and that have gained actual revenue for themselves and created opportunities for their fans to get a chance to join in the work. So I want to specifically shout out the numpties who made the first creator token that allows the audience to participate in a percentage of the revenues of their video content on Streamanity. We had today the first NFT songs, as you mentioned. These were from the participants of the Bitcoin Got Talent episode 5, Georgie and Mandeep. You guys got to check it out at relayx.com. We've also had a real business in Denver, Colorado, tokenized tacos from their food truck. So that's from Miles as a partner, Pitts. You can today get a token one-to-one, just like what Eli talked about with one-to-one gold, but you can't eat gold, but you can eat tacos. So we expect to see many more restaurants to come do that. Just coming off before this CoinGeek, this weekend before, we did a run hackathon led by Brenton Gunning, who's the founder of the Run protocol. That is where the tokens on the RelayX ecosystem today are running. And that run hackathon was entirely funded on the decentralized exchange relayx.com itself. So the audience were able to contribute to the hackathon and receive NFTs of all the different participants. We're about to airdrop them in a couple of days. That was very successful. So it's really been a wide range of different kind of creators. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Hannah, which aka are on chain. She did a series of Pew Pew GIFs that were the first kind of GIFs that were to trade on RelayX as well. And at the end of this show, we will be showing you the first video token that will be trading. This is a video that was supposed to play on the commercial breaks at this conference, but maybe it was a little too spicy, and it's about the Schwa token. So we'll release that on RelayX.com right after this panel.
All right. Wow. I'm going to go check out after this one. So one question for all of you, because you guys are issuing tokens and building token solutions on BSV blockchain. And compared to some of the other public blockchains, which usually have a common sets of token protocols, in the BSV ecosystem, we have several options in terms of token protocol, right? So what do you think of the pros and cons of several different offerings, and how do you foresee this dynamics being played out? Let's start with James.
Yeah, so I think it's a really good thing, and I think it was an inevitable thing. So competition, that enables or brings about many positives, pros, I think. So every protocol has their own trade-offs. I think there's many use cases out there that benefit from slightly different design choices for token protocol. But having the competition is really, really important, because you have all these little silos, these little teams that are hyper-focused on a viewpoint, a perspective, a set of design parameters or principles, and they're competing with each other. Without that competition, you just don't move as quickly. You don't have the fire lit under you as you would if you're by yourself. And by the nature of these protocols, you're not going to get, even the most collaborative teams and the people that are the most open source projects, you're still going to have a fairly small brain trust in reality that has control and makes the decisions and sort of sets the direction. So by having these different projects, I think it's going to benefit consumers and industry in the world generally in the long run. I think it's also really good for inspiration, right? It's nothing like seeing other teams think about things differently and attack different problems and try out different use cases and learn from them, right? Like, we are definitely learning from these other teams, and we have a lot of respect for some of them. So I hope they have learned from us as well and have gained some inspiration. On the cons, I'd say that it's definitely in the short term, it provides sort of uncertainty. So there's a lot of companies that I know are sort of in a state of paralysis. They're not sure which solution to go with. They want to see who wins, and that can slow things down to some degree. There's also a degree of hindrance with respect to interoperability. One of the major components that makes blockchain and token protocol so compelling is the inherent interoperability. And when you have multiple protocols, that element suffers. So it's a poor user experience. It's more costly to develop. There's more uncertainty for business, for entrepreneurs, and more risk and all that associated with it. But other than that, I think it's really, really good. So I'm excited to see what the teams are doing, and we are certainly inspired and motivated by the competitive forces at play here.
Eli, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, that was a very well-rounded answer by James Belding. In fact, I think he covered on 90% of everything I was intending to say, so you haven't left me much, James. But I agree with everything he said. Some tokens are going to have more security than others. Some are going to work more efficiently than others. Some of them are going to be more flexible. Some can do less. Some are going to cost less. And this is going to be, and it's all trade-offs. I do think in the end that there will be one significant protocol that is kind of going to reign supreme, but that doesn't mean it's going to kill off every other one. I think there's going to be some very niche use cases for other protocols. It's kind of like what's happened with, I guess, Ethereum. There are others, but ERC20 or whatever they're at the moment is kind of the reigning supreme for the time being. Having said that, what does reign supreme is also going to change, and I imagine certain companies that will tokenize on one platform or on one protocol rather will migrate to another. I mean, it'll be a headache, but they can migrate. That's another beauty of blockchain technology. It's all very auditable. You can migrate tokens from one system to another. It's a bit of trouble, but if they really want to do it for let's say scalability reasons, then they could do it.
Jack, I know you've been very active in the Run token ecosystem. What can you share? Like, what went into your decision-making process by choosing to build on Run?
I wish I decided earlier, but we went as soon as Run was ready for a public release, as this is past October. We just looked at which protocol was going to gain the most network effect. Obviously, we thought maybe there was going to be a consensus in the beginning, but as James said, once you have a lot of competitive forces, we looked at which ones were going to be easier for developers to code on specifically. And so because Bitcoin was not built exactly with ready to go intentionally for tokens to be launched right away, then the layer 1 or layer 0, the kind of really on-chain type tokens, takes a little bit more years of R&D. Knowing that and kind of predicting or witnessing the token boom on other blockchains, we kind of looked at it as being JavaScript and being able to do a lot of more complex type contracts right away. We thought that had the lowest barrier to entry, highest flexibility, and easiest for us as a wallet to integrate, and the best chance for us to push around and convince other wallets. And I think we're very close. I don't want to make an announcement for them, but a major other wallet is going to join us in this ecosystem and support Run as well.
Obviously, like being able to issue on the Bitcoin protocol is very exciting, right? But it is really just the step one. It is the foundation. In order to have real impact and really truly unlock the efficiencies and creativities, you need to have things like to demonstrate ownership, transfer of ownership of those tokens, right? Ability to enforce legal rights, ability to remediate. These all need to be very well thought through in the token design, and also its infrastructure support. Maybe you guys can give us some examples of how token designs can fit into the existing legal and commercial framework.
So one thing that we want to sort of challenge the whole industry on is the focus and attention on tokens, just that term. So really, like, they're just instruments. They're just certificates of ownership that are digital, that are recorded to the blockchain. They are a very small subset of the commercial records that go into supporting the ownership of these instruments, or the rights and duties behind them. So our protocol is very, very focused on commercial records. Tokens are a subset of it. Tokens are controlled by smart contracts, but there's other important records that go into building the case for ownership. So even governance, we think, is very important, right? So if you have a token that represents shares in a company, for example, our protocol allows that token to vote on chain, to participate in passing resolutions. And those resolutions, or that voting, that action and the control, can be expressed in a way that can control the terms and conditions of the smart contract. So those records of voting to change, the direction of a company, to change terms and conditions, are incredibly meaningful to the token holders, right? And it can have a significant impact on the status of ownership or just the value of it. There's other things too that go into that. So that's really what we want to focus on, is commercial records. And it's not, it's not the key buzzwords that everyone wants to hear right now. Everyone wants to talk about smart contracts and tokens, but in our view, that's what it's going to take to make this a compelling user experience that's going to fit into law, that's going to answer questions for real companies and real governments, central banks, all these institutions that have a lot of risk and nuance in the operations. And that's what we handle. And that's what we've really, really worked hard on to allow for in our protocol. So it's much, much more than tokens. But what we can offer with our protocol and the approach that we've taken is essentially companies can have no additional risks using BSV and using our protocol to conduct some of these transactions and record these commercial events. So what I mean by no additional risks is, if you lose your keys, or an issuer loses the keys, or an administrator that's operating on behalf of an issuer loses their keys, or a token holder loses their keys, you can fix it. You can issue new keys, or you can issue new tokens to new keys and confiscate from the old ones. You can do all kinds of upgrades to the contract. So over time, as new features come out or bugs are found, you can deal with it in a practical manner. You don't have to reissue the whole contract at great cost. You don't have to disrupt trading. You can just upgrade it, and it can take 2 transactions, a cost of like 1/10 of a cent, and the entire contract has been upgraded. It's been improved. So this also offers the ability to really like iterate quickly. So over time, like if you look at sort of to contrast that, if you look at like sort of Ethereum and a lot of those protocols, they haven't really done much in terms of innovation in years. They're very, very risk averse. They're risky. There's a lot of costs in auditing them, and it's caused like a huge sort of, again, state of paralysis in that innovation in the industry. So with our approach, it becomes very much like a traditional IT infrastructure in terms of flexibility, in terms of utility and practicality, but with all of the benefits of blockchain. So you don't lose anything, but you gain something, and you don't have to worry about those kind of things. When it comes to like the legalities, it's very clear to me it was very clear to me at the very beginning, as well as through the conversations that I had with customers and prospective customers and regulators, that the legalities need to be clear. No executive is going to enter into an agreement for a consequential instrument that they don't really know what happens if things go wrong, or if there's a mistake, or if there's a dispute. There needs to be really, really precise language. Legal prose that can be interpreted by judges, lawyers, mediators, executives, non-technical people. And that's really, really, really important, and it can be done. Like that is our approach we've taken with the protocol. So there's, for every sort of codified, machine-readable, software-based action that's part of the protocol, there is really essentially legal prose that can back it up, and it can be done on a jurisdictional basis. It can be done with a great deal of precision.
I'm sure those would be some of, yeah, that's really, really good answers. And I'm sure those are some of the top questions that your clients as like enterprises and government agencies usually ask, right? To issue a token on public blockchain. And, they thought about all these potential risks and, in their own mind as in like public blockchain is the Wild West. What do you think it would be the biggest driver to actually push them move forward and step their toes into issuing tokens and contracts on public blockchain like BSV?
So in my view, is literally just having the system that's worked out all these details. So there's just a tremendous amount of complexity, and when it's all speculative and up in the air and promises, it's very difficult for anyone to take action, right? Like you can't put something in front of a serious group of people that are very busy, they're running big organizations and managing a lot of risk, something so speculative, right? So typically they need to understand these things, they need to see that it's real before they can make a commitment. And that's what we've been working on the last 2 years. That's why we kept our head down and just got all the details worked out, have something that's working, have something that's secure, be able to prove it and educate them and have them try it out. So it becomes a no-brainer. And that's really what we've been working on. And to sort of address the key concerns that we've gotten from our prospective customers of various different roles, it really comes down to the practicality, the features and utility, and the compliance. So practicality, that kind of refers to the things I was talking about before, is like what happens if we lose our keys? Like how do we manage catastrophic events? Which I believe I've answered that already in terms of how not only can Bitcoin handle that, with the miners being able to, using the alert key to essentially confiscate or freeze tokens, but we can also do other protocol in a much more efficient manner that's where the control lies with the issuer. In terms of utility, what's it going to cost? Can it scale? Right? What features do we get? What benefits do we get out of it? Like, what is the purpose of us, spending time and energy and resources on actually trying this and trying to implement this? And then compliance. Is there any risks that we need to know about? How are regulators going to interpret it? What happens when there's compliance needs that need to be addressed, actions enforced? Those are really the questions that are asked a lot. And I think I've addressed those with some of my previous comments.
Thanks, James. Eli, like in your pitch to potential clients on tokenizing gold on BSV, what's your pitch? How do you address those concerns in terms of legal and infrastructure support?
Sure. I'll be very quick. I notice we're getting a little bit short on time. But look, I mean, we've done everything we can from the platform point of view. We've sought legal advice, but obviously there's a whole bunch of stuff that we're going to have to plug into when we we get a partner company on board. So one of the things that we're keeping in mind, one of the key considerations is that that we work with the existing vaults to plug directly into their existing model. We don't want to change the way they do business. We want to plug into their existing KYC model. We want to plug into give them the same level of control that they have over their current contracts. Now, some of those get a little bit tricky, understandably, but that's the aim. And then where there are notable differences between how they do business and how they would do business on, with blockchain technology, then we can address those on an as-need basis. But fundamentally, we want to transfer what they do to a more efficient model and more profitable model, which would be on blockchain. So we want to, make the platform no less compliant than they already are, but hopefully make them even more compliant, because every action we take through our system is recorded on chain and is auditable and et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of it will come down to our partnership with the prospective company. I'll leave the rest of the time for Jack.
Yeah, Jack, you tend to kind of take a different route on the tokenization use cases and prioritize to speed and time to go to market. What's your view?
Yeah, because Bitcoin's open, runs open, tokens are open, I take a very inside-out approach. Look, I'm not kidding ourselves. We understand internally that some of the things that we've built are not ready for complete mainstream, right? So we're kind of just like, almost like live streaming you and everyone else into kind of the build out of Relay as we go. The reason why that's important is we're all Bitcoin holders. We all benefit if Bitcoin grows. So by putting out songs too early, it might mean that we lose the entire music industry to another platform, because the token and the locking script that we've built on our decentralized exchange is completely wide open for anyone else to use. And so if you're frustrated by our interface, you can already today go to FYX, the gaming company, Crypto Fights, and just ask them, hey, can you, instead of just listing Crypto Fights, can you also support every other token on Relay? So technically you can buy Schwa on Crypto Fights. It's just David Case has chosen not to enable that yet. And because it's all circular, we get to learn from each other, and we get to potentially trade their tokens on our platform. So we take a very positive sum approach to our way of doing tokens. And then obviously with some of these lower long tail artists who today are being ostracized by YouTube, who today are ostracized by Spotify, their earnings are zero. They're happy to earn $100, happy to earn $1,000. They're not so concerned with licensing rights and things like this, okay? But that does not mean that that's not gonna come. See, you have to, as an entrepreneur, I think in Bitcoin, not be afraid to look bad for a period of time, because things are going to look better very quickly. And I take a very inside-out approach instead of outside-in. I don't look at what some top enterprise demands from a protocol, because even if you check every one of their boxes, they'll say, okay, great, but let me go on a 6-month vacation first. Because they've already made it. They don't need these tokens, right? There are millions and billions of people who need these tokens to power their lives. And if you take an inside-out approach, then every time we've broken open a new opportunity set, a new ecosystem, presents a new opportunity for another entrepreneur to say, hey, I can also add these alterations to these tokens to add these real life laws and things like that. And I think that's how we're going to grow, whether it's on Run, whether it's with RelayX, but it's certainly going to be on Bitcoin SV.
Thanks, gentlemen, for the great discussion. I'll definitely be paying close attention to what comes out next with your token platforms. And I personally believe that tokenization will be the major driver of digital transformation and really lay out the foundation for a new peer-to-peer social and commercial interactions. And for the developers, entrepreneurs, and enterprises out there, we really encourage you to explore such great opportunities on a stable and scalable blockchain as BSV. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Is greatness really just for a chosen few? For prodigies? For superstars? It's not planned. It's experienced by those with great support and some resilience. For those that strive to go to the edge once more, pushed and guided with excellent support. Support that provides groundbreaking technology by and for those that know it's all about velocity.